Good morning, everybody. My name is Brandon Hutton, and I will be speaking about the CDBG CVR COVID Resiliency Program today. This is a recorded webinar that will be uploaded to our website and will be sent out in an email for folks to watch and to come back to if you have any questions. Just to do a quick introduction, I'm the only person in the room, but you all should be familiar with the CDBG team. If you're not, here is a list of the folks on your Kansas CDBG team. Kayla Savage is our Community Development Director, Andrew Heyman, our CDBG Director, and then Ann is our CDBG Assistant Director. Jenny, Linda, Tim, and myself are all CDBG Project Specialists. These are the folks that you should be reaching out to if you have any CDBG questions with this program or with any CDBG questions, any programs and all that. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. I didn't include our emails on here, but you can go to the website and find all of our emails on the Kansas Commerce CDBG website. So to dive right into this program, what is CDBG CVR? So the state of Kansas and CDBG, we had some extra CARES Act funding. We have about $2 million worth that we would like to spend on. We would like to, create a program to support community development. That is a little different than the previous CD 1 through 3 grants. This project will be focusing on COVID resiliency, which we'll dive into here in a little bit. The awards will be made for issues. The awards for this program will be made because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so it is effectively a continuation of the CV 1 through 3 grants, but it is a little different. So this is a competitive grant program, which CV 1 through 3 were not. And this is going to focus on some different priorities than the previous. And we'll get right into that right now. So some of the eligible uses of these CVR funds will be business upgrades that a small business might need to prevent closures due to community illnesses or any type of health emergencies that might come up in the future. It would be for purchasing technology, hardware, and software upgrades, including infrastructure, devices, and applications. It'll be for e-commerce updates, including online inventory management and website enhancements. It could be for professional development, for training for businesses. When you make these enhancements, one thing I know is that businesses want to include a lot of this great new technology, but training might not come with the purchase of that technology. So I want to make sure that folks are getting the training that they need to implement these enhancements in a quality manner. And then there's other updates that can be directly related to resilience improvements. If you can prove that an update that you're making to your business or that a business can be enhanced with this funding to relate it directly to resiliency for closing, it would be eligible for these funds. The grant amounts, like I mentioned earlier, we have $2 billion in total funding. The maximum funding for a city or county that can apply is $150,000. Businesses with 5 or fewer employees will be eligible to receive up to $30,000. And then businesses between 6 and 50 employees are eligible to receive up to $50,000. There's a maximum grant award of $50,000 per company. And however you divvy up that pot of funding, that $150,000 if you ask for, can be determined by the city or county. You just have to stick with these $30,000 and $50,000 requirements if depending on the size of the business. Timeline for the application and some extra information is that applications are currently live. You can visit the CDBG Commerce website. And it is one of the tiles at the bottom right that goes straight to the CVR application. It also provides more information, the guidelines, and will include a link to this webinar. The application window is from June 1st to July 31st. So you have about a month and a half to get applications in. These are not lengthy applications, but there is a little bit of footwork at the beginning because it is a CDBG grant. We'll go through some of the initial requirements of those CDBG grant here in a little bit. But I would like cities and counties to identify the businesses that they would like to improve. And I think that recruitment piece is going to take a little bit of work. So you have plenty of time to get this project done. I just wanted to make sure that, that July 31st will come quickly. Now, since this is a CDBG grant project, only cities and counties will be applying for this grant. And I mentioned this earlier, cities and counties, you should be identifying the businesses before applying for this funding, because in the application, you will be asked to identify the businesses that you have kind of recruited to take advantage of this funding. All of those businesses do not need to be identified. If you find, if you are writing this application and you've got some businesses that you discover later on after you receive the funding, if there's funding left, you'll have the opportunity to give those businesses funding as long as they meet the eligibility requirements that we'll go over here later. Funds will be prioritized for-profit businesses that have a majority ownership by a socially or economically disadvantaged person or persons as defined in 15 CFR 1400.4. That is a guideline that kind of defines socially or economically disadvantaged persons, and that will be a priority for this grant. It is not a hard requirement, but I just wanted folks to know that we will be prioritizing those socially or economically disadvantaged person-owned businesses for profit. To help with that recruitment piece, we have created a quick questionnaire that cities and counties can be using to see if businesses in their area would be interested in this funding. I just took a screenshot of this document, but this document will be located on our website. It will be going out in our media for this project, and will be attached to the kind of e-blast that we send out after we get this recording all done and formatted. I would definitely be using this questionnaire to help figure out if this is a grant worth going after in your city or county. It should be a tool for you to help strengthen your application. Some of the grant requirements, really quick, funding is going to be available for non-entitlement communities, just like normal CDBG projects through the state. The ineligible cities/counties include Kansas City, Wichita, Topeka, Lawrence, Leavenworth, Manhattan, and all of Johnson County. You must have a zero balance with a CDBG local revolving loan fund, the RFL and ML. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to myself or anybody on the CDBG team, and we can help answer any of those questions on the loan revolving or the local revolving loan. All other CDB requirements as listed in the 2023 CDBG application guidelines will be in effect for this program. This grant is for-profit businesses only. The national objective for CDBG is job retention, and over 51% of employees must meet the LMI per company. Now that's going to be a very, very important requirement, that the businesses that are being strategically chosen, are being recruited, must have over 51% of the employees must meet the LMI. And that will be talked about later. Cities and counties do not have to meet the LMI requirement that we normally have for CDBG projects. This will be a self-survey that we will send out to folks after awards are made and everything like that. So as long as you are a non-entitlement community, you will be eligible for this funding regarding of your LMI. It will be just based off the businesses and what the business employees' LMI are. One other requirement for all CD grants, and this goes into effect with CVR also, is that the company must have been in operation prior to March 1st of 2020. These next few slides are going to talk about the application. starting with the community needs and impact. I would like to see communities, applicants discuss the project need for the community and the businesses and how it's going to impact them. Include information that provides a clear picture as to the specific needs of the community and businesses that these funds will benefit, and provide information how these benefits will impact the overall community piece. So we're looking for that impact. If this is a local art store, a for-profit art store, you know, that somebody needs, or that the community really relies on to purchase art or does things in the community, really talk about how this funding and these enhancements will benefit those businesses. We're not strategically focusing on restaurants or small stores or things like that. It could be any for-profit businesses as long as it meets the sub 50 employee requirement. And it follows all the other guidelines that are listed. For the project narrative, we want you to provide information regarding the scope of the project or projects and how you intend to complete those projects within the life of the grant. Include information for each business that will benefit from these funds. So when I mentioned earlier about identifying each business, that's where this information would go. I want to know what the business is, what the fundings are going to do to enhance that business. Include information on if it is part of the socially or economically disadvantaged persons in this section. And if you need more information on that piece, refer to 15 CFR 1400.4. There will be a link to that in the email that we send out, but it's also, you can Google that and it'll take you right to the HUD guideline. For project readiness, we want you to provide a timeline of the proposed activities. This would be the implementation of these new enhancements, the anticipated date of beginning the work, and the anticipated date of completing the work. Include any community support for these projects from local businesses, residents, healthcare workers, etc. For the project outcomes, I want to know how you're going to determine the projects are a success. Will there be any measurable outcomes? And if so, what tools will you use to measure them? If you are doing a professional development might be the focus on a business. Talk about what the professional development, what success is going to look like. If they're going to be receiving a certificate from that professional development, then determining success will be that business receives that certificate within the time frame of the grant. These don't necessarily need to be, improving, revenue sources by 50% or anything like that. They could be simple. But I just want to know how these businesses are going to determine that this funding was used successfully. And you can be creative with this. Do you have any more questions on project outcomes? If you have businesses that come to you and they want to know more information about this, feel free to reach out to me and we can have a quick call and brainstorm how we can develop those outcomes. I've got 2 slides of FAQs that I've currently collected from folks that have kind of initially reached out to me. This will be a kind of a living FAQ document throughout the life of this grant. So this will be located, these are located on our website and will be updated frequently so that when questions come in, I can address them with the person and then with everybody else. So the first question, is this a competitive grant? Yes, CVR is a competitive grant program. You can learn more about the application by looking at the CVR guidelines, which are loaded on the website, which is kansascommerce.gov/CDBG. And then I think it's /CVR, but don't quote me on that piece. Go to the CDBG website. The title is at the bottom right. Who can apply for this grant? Any cities, counties that are eligible for state CDBG funds that are non-entitlement communities. Refer to the previous slide that I had that list of the entitlement communities to see if you are ineligible. And like other CDBG grants, cities and counties will be applying for this funding. So if you are a business interested in this funding, you need to be contacting your city or county to to work with them about going after this money. If you are a city or county, you need to be working with your businesses to see if you have businesses in the community that will benefit from this funding so that you can partner with them and then go after it. Nonprofit organizations apply for this funding. Sadly, no, CVR funding is only available for for-profit businesses under 50 total employees. Will this funding be allowed to fund construction projects? Yes, it will. However, the funding is limited to $50,000 for each business based on the size and $150,000 per city county. Construction projects will use a large part of those funds since you have to follow Davis-Bacon wages and all the other requirements for CDBG construction projects. I would highly recommend that if you're interested in doing more of a construction work, that you look at some of the other CDBG projects that might have a higher funding limit so that you can have more wiggle room to work with. If your city or county has applied for CD funds in the past, are you eligible to apply for CVR funds? CD 1 through 3, you were not. If you had applied for a previous CD grant, you weren't allowed to apply again. We are not doing that this time. You will be eligible for funding if you have applied for CD 1 through 3 funds. You just have to be a part of those eligible communities, which is the community is not listed effectively in that list that I provided in previous slides. What is the public hearing deadline for the CDBG CVR applications? Like all CDBG programs, we have public hearing deadlines and you have to hold public hearings for these projects. Now, the public hearing deadline is July 16th, which is 15 days prior to the award or prior to the deadline of the grant. And the publication of the public hearing notice should be 5 days prior to that, not including the day of the publication. So it's effectively 6 days before. I believe these days might be on weekends, so you need to take that into consideration. I believe the 16th is on a Sunday, so if you're sticking to business days, then the last business day for the public hearing will be on the 14th. I believe the last business day for the publication would be on the 8th. So just keep those in mind. Just get your public hearing notices and the actual public hearing done before those dates. Do cities or counties need to identify businesses specifically when completing the application? Ideally, specific businesses should be identified. The idea behind this is that you will already do some of the legwork while working on this grant application to recruit those businesses so that you don't receive the funding and then have to recruit businesses from there. I think this will help you determine the need of this funding in your community if you do a little bit of this work ahead of time. So you definitely should be recruiting those businesses so that you can talk about it in the application. It will strengthen the application quite a bit if you prove that you have identified those businesses in your community that will qualify for these funds. And then the last FAQ is, are LMI verifications of their employees required as part of the application or only if awarded as part of project implementation? LMI will only need to be verified as part of project implementation. Cities and counties do not have to meet a city's or countywide LMI percentage. The businesses will be responsible for meeting the LMI requirements. This will be done with a self-certification form from KDC if you are awarded this funding. So I know a lot of folks that this isn't a wide LMI requirement. It is a self-certification based off of the business. So you need to be that needs to be very clear at the beginning when you're recruiting these businesses that they have to have a 51% employee LMI requirement. If you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and I can work with you through that if it's a little cloudy or if you need clarification. And that goes with anything else that we have discussed during this recording. Like I said earlier, my name is Brandon Hutton. I'm a CDBG project specialist at the Kansas Department of Commerce. My email address is brandon.hutton@ks.gov. And you can go to the website, which is kansascommerce.gov/CDBG/COVID-resiliency-CVR. So that is the actual link The easiest way to find it is to go to the CDBG website and click on the tile at the bottom. To reiterate, the CVR, we are excited to be offering this grant program to communities. I really am excited to see enhancement projects for folks that need new technologies, that want to take their business to the next level. And I hope this funding can be used to do that. So do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions or anybody else on the CDBG team so that we can help you develop a quality application and hopefully get your city or hopefully get businesses in your city/county rewarded.